This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, share my screen. Well, so in the last class we discussed about the data warehouse, right? We completed the data warehouse session. So in data warehouse we discussed about the data flow, like how the data will flow from source to destination database, like OLTP to ODS, ODS to stage, stage to data warehouse, and then data warehouse to data marts. That data flow we discussed, and then after that, what is dimension table, what is fact table, and also we discuss the difference between star schema, snowflake schema, and different types of dimensions, different types of facts, and finally we discussed about difference between data mart and the data warehouse. So these are the concepts which we discussed from the data warehouse. Next, today we will start with ETL Informatica Power Center. Okay, so what is Informatica? Informatica is a company name. The company developed many tools. One of the tools name is ETL Informatica Power Center. Okay, so Informatica is a company name. There is a company with the name Informatica. Okay, so that company developed this ETL Informatica Power Center tool. So there are many products developed by this company, Informatica company. So one of the products we have ETL Informatica Power Center tool. The other products of Informatica we have like IDQ, Informatica Data Quality, Informatica Master Data Management, Informatica Power Exchange, Informatica PDQ, Big Data Management. So like that, there are many other ETL tools in not ETL tools. There are many other tools developed by Informatica company. For all those tools, this Informatica Power Center is most popular tools which we have in the market compared with other ETL tools or other tools which Informatica has developed. Okay, so that's the if you know Informatica Power Center, then you can also learn easily other products of Informatica, but those are not required now. Okay, so here we'll first discuss about this Informatica Power Center. We know ETL means extract, transform, and load. Extracting the data from one database, transform, and load into another database. We use this ETL Informatica Power Center tool. Okay, and then so these are the versions of the Informatica Power Center tool. 10.2, 9.6, and these are the previous versions of Informatica Power Center. The latest version of Informatica Power Center is 10.5. Okay, so even though the latest version of Informatica Power Center is 10.5, still many of the companies are using 10.2 and 2 version only. Okay, so for Informatica developer, as Informatica, we are Informatica developers, right? So for Informatica developers, it doesn't matter whether you work in 10.5 or 10.2 or 9.6. So all these three are the same types of features will be there for Informatica developer. Okay, so between 10.5 to 10.2 there are some additional features they have added for the admin and the business analyst purpose. Okay, so for Informatica developer we have almost all the same features which we are using 10.5. Okay, so in interview, if they ask, tell me currently which version of Informatica you are working in your project, you can say 10.5. Okay, for us, still it is not available to download and install 10.5. Okay, so we will be working here on 10.2 version only. Okay, but in interview, if they ask, tell me which version of Informatica Power Center you are working, you can say 10.5. Okay, they will not ask you to tell the difference between 10.5 and 10.2. Even though if they ask, you tell me for developer. So we do not have much features. Data analyst and Informatica admin level, they have added some features. Okay, new features they have added. But for Informatica developer, whatever transformations are available in 10.2, so we have all the same transformations in 10.5 also. Like that, you can answer the versions of Informatica Power Center. Okay, fine. So if you are keeping around 4 5 years of experience in your resume, you have to mention all these versions. Okay, so I'm familiar with these versions, like that you can tell. Okay, I'll also share the sample resume. In your sample resume you will also find all these versions. Okay, next. To work with this Informatica Power Center tool, we need to have first Informatica server software should be installed in the system, and also client software, server and client. So these two are the different tool softwares like to work with Informatica Power Center. So generally, in real time, it is not our responsibility to install these softwares. Okay, so in the when we started this training on this on last Monday, we started with the installation, right? So whatever the installation we have done, that generally in real time Informatica administrator separate team will be there. So it's their responsibility to install all the Informatica server and client softwares. Okay, so we are not going to do the installation, but since this is a training, we should have to know how to do the installation. Okay, and we have to work on this Informatica Power Center tool. That's the reason we only installed this Informatica server and client softwares in our machine. Okay, so first we started with the Informatica server. So during the server installation, it will ask us to give the database details. That is the reason before installing the Informatica software, we have installed Oracle software. Oracle is a database which we will be using here. Database type, right? Oracle is a database type which we will be using here in our training. Okay, so because uh, during the Informatica installation, it will ask us to provide the database username, password, database host name, all these details it will ask. So that time we have to provide. That is the reason before installing the database, before installing the Informatica, we have to install the database softwares. Okay, and once the Informatica software also installed, like a server software and the client software, then we just have to here we will log into the Informatica administrator. Generally, in real time, we will not be having the access to the Informatica administrator. Okay, we will not be having the access to log into the Informatica administrator. Here, we went to admin, right? So we have opened the Informatica administrator homepage. Okay, and then we have entered the username password as admin, and then we have logged in. There we created the repository and integration service during the installation. So generally in real time, we will not be having the access to create the repository and integration service. Only Informatica admin team will take care to work on that Informatica administrator tool. Okay, so there they will create a repository service and integration service. Inside the administrator homepage, so Informatica admin team, they will create a repository under the domain. So they will create a repository service and integration service. What is repository service? Repository is nothing but a storage area. Okay, so whatever mappings we create, everything we create under the repository only. Here in our training, we have created a repository with the name rep underscore dev, right? So we have created a repository with the name rep underscore dev. Okay, rep means repository, dev means development. In short form, we have used rep underscore dev repository. So as Informatica developer, we will be creating our mappings under the development repository. Okay, so in the same way, we'll have in real time, we'll have total 4 repositories. Currently, in our machine, we have created only one repository. It will allow us to create only one repository here. So if you want to create multiple repositories, you need to have the separate license for that. Okay, but here we have created only one repository with the name rep underscore dev development. In real time also, we will be working in development repository only. Okay, so in real time also we will be working in development environment. In development repository or development environment only, we will be having the access to create the mappings. Okay, and so other repositories like QA means quality analyst. There testing team, ETL testing team, there will be separate team, testing team will be there. So whatever the mappings we have developed in the dev, the same map will copy to the QA. Okay, so in QA testing team, they are going to test our mappings, whatever mappings we developed in dev. After moving those mappings to the QA, in QA repository testing team, they are going to test our mappings. There, if all our mappings are working fine, then we have to move the same mappings from QA repository to UAT repository. UAT means user acceptance test. Okay, there again, client side technical team will be there, separate team will be there. So UAT team, or we also call it as a pre-production UAT or pre-production team will be there. So they are going to test our mappings, whatever we have developed in dev, the same mappings we have copied to the QA, the same mappings we have copied to the UAT repository. So now under UAT repository, so client side technical team or UAT team, okay, or pre-production team will be there. They will be, testing all our mappings, whatever we have execute, we have created. So there also, if it is working fine, then finally it will move to the production environment. Rep underscore prod means production. Production means live environment, live repository, live mappings, live data will be there in the production environment. So first three, dev, QA, UAT, all these three repositories, we called it as test repositories or test environment, development and testing. So we first directly we will not go and create the mapping in production. Directly we will not create the mappings in live environment. So first we develop the new mapping in dev environment, then in QA and UAT different teams will test whatever we have created, whether they are working fine or not. So once everything is working fine, then only we will move those mappings to the live environment, which is production repository. Fine. So like that, these are the four repositories. In interview, if they ask, tell me how many repositories are there in your project, you can say four repositories. Then if they ask, tell me what are the names of the repositories which you have in your project, you can say we have rep underscore dev, rep underscore QA, UAT, like that, rep underscore production, like that. We have four repositories in my project. Okay, and I have access to create the mappings only in rep underscore dev. We will not be having the access in the QA UAT production. So we cannot create a mapping, we cannot execute the mapping in QA UAT production, but we can just see the mapping, we can connect to the repository, we can open the mapping, we can just see the mapping. Okay, so whereas we cannot execute any mappings in the QA UAT production, only for the developers we will have all the permissions to create the mapping or to modify the mapping or to execute the mapping in dev environment. Okay, same in real time also. Next, after this repository service, so we'll generally Informatica admin team, they will be creating the integration service. Integration service will perform the actual ETL. Okay, so what is the integration service? Why integration service is required? Okay, this is another question. They may ask like, what is integration service? So you have to say integration service is for to perform the actual ETL. Okay, suppose we have a source table. Let's say this is a table, source table. We have created the table with the name emp underscore yes. Okay, and with these columns, and we have some rows. And this is the target table emp underscore t. ETL means extract the data from the source table, transform and load data to the target table. Data means all the rows we call it as a data. So we have four rows here. Four rows we call it as a data. So we will extract these four rows from the source table, transform and load it to the target table. For that, let's say under this development repository, we have created a mapping with the name M1. So we have created M1 mapping under the development repository to extract the data from the source table, transform and load into the target table. Okay, let's say, and we have started execution of that mapping to load the data from source to target table. As soon as we start execution of the mapping to load the data from source to target table, first it will connect to the integration service. First, that mapping will connect to the integration service. What integration service will do is integration service will start the DTM engine for that mapping. Whatever mapping we have executed to load the data from source to target table, for that mapping, it will start the DTM engine. DTM means data transfer manager. Okay, so what DTM engine will do is DTM engine, it will validate the mapping, whatever the mapping we have created to load the data from source to target table, whether that mapping is valid or not. It will check all those things. Okay, once the mapping is valid, then it will validate the source and target database connections. Okay, inside the mapping, I will show you all these things practically now. Okay, inside the mapping, we will give the source and target database connections. So it will check whether it is able to connect to the source database or not. The connections, whatever are given inside the Informatica tool, they are valid or not. Whether it is able to connect to the database with these connections or not, it will check. If the connections are valid, then what it will do, it will enable the reader and writer thread. So inside the Informatica, we will have the reader thread and writer thread. So it will enable the reader thread and writer thread. What reader will do is it will connect to the source database table and it will extract the data from the source table, transform, and it will give it to the writer thread. The writer thread will write the data in the target table. It will connect to the target database. Inside the target database, it will go to the target schema. Inside the schema, we will have these tables. Inside this table, writer will write the data. So like that, it will extract the data, transform, and load into the target table. So once the data loaded into the target table, it will also display the status and the statistics. Status means like whether the execution got succeeded or failed. Okay, how much time it took to execute, and how many records it has read from the source, how many records it has loaded into the target. All these status and the statistics it will display. So these 5 steps can be taken care by integration service. Okay, so we are not going to do all the 5 steps. Automatically integration service will take care internally. Okay, when we start execution of any mapping to load the data from source to target table, automatically at the back it will take care to perform these 5 steps. Okay, so that's the reason we need to have the repository service and integration service. So these two services will be created by the Informatica admin team. We are not going to create. As Informatica developer, we just have to know what is integration service, what is repository service. A repository is nothing but a storage area. All the mappings, whatever we develop under the repository. And then the integration service to perform the actual ETL means extracting, transforming, loading can be taken care by integration service. That's it. So that's all about admin side. And then client. So we install the Informatica client software also, right? We have installed the Informatica server software, and then we have installed the Informatica client software. Okay, so I think in most of your systems we have already done the installation except one or two. Okay, so whoever the installation is pending, so 100% we should have to complete today only. Okay, today whenever you are available, you just let me know. We'll complete the installation because today we are going to start the practical now. Okay, so 100% you should have to do the practical on same day. So if you postpone to do the practical, then it would be difficult to understand the next class. Okay, so now here the client software. So we should also have to install the client software. Once we install the Informatica client software, we will get these tools: Power Center Designer tool, Power Center Workflow Manager tool, Power Center Workflow Monitor tool, Power Center Repository Manager tool. These are the 4 client tools which we will get if we install the Informatica client software. Okay, so all those tools you can see here. We will have, if you go to the start, and here we'll have all programs. Here you can see. So we'll have the Informatica folder. Under the Informatica folder, we will have all those client tools. So if you go here, this is the Informatica folder. Here we can see all the client tools: Power Center Designer, Power Center Workflow Manager, Power Center Monitor, right? So manager, all will have the client other Informatica folder. Okay. So and again, this Power Center Repository Manager. So this Power Center Repository Manager tool, again, it's an admin tool. Okay. So this is admin tool. So because only one time, for the first time, whatever the repository here we have created installation only, we will add the repository there, and we will configure the domain to establish between client and the server tool. Okay, so if we add rep_dev, the same repository we have to add in the repository manager that we have already added during the installation. Okay, and then the configure domain during the installation only we will do to establish a connection between client and server. And then inside the repository, we have also created the folder with the name training_dev folder we have created. So inside the repository, we can have a number of folders. Inside the folders only, we will create our mapping. This is also only one time. For the first time only during the installation, we will add the repository, we will configure the domain, we will create the folders inside the repository manager. Okay. And once the repository added and domain configured happened, then we are not going to use this repository manager tool. Next, 100% these three tools are the Informatica developer. So we will be working in real time on these three tools only: Power Center Designer tool, Workflow Manager, Workflow Monitor. These three are very, very important for Informatica developer. 100% every day we will be working on these three tools only: Power Center Designer, Workflow Manager, Workflow Monitor tools only. Okay, so here if you see, I have mentioned 6 steps, okay, to develop any mapping to load the data from source to target table. We have to follow these 6 steps by using these 3 client tools. Okay, and so after performing these 6 steps, then only the data will be loaded from source to target table. Got it? So first step, we have to open the Power Center Designer tool to create any mapping. We have to open the Power Center Designer tool, and then we have to inside the Power Center Designer tool, we have to import the source definition. I'll show you all these things practically now. So import the source definition means source table structure we have to import, and we have to import the target definition. We have to create a mapping. So these 3 steps for any mapping to load the data from source to target table. We have to perform these 3 steps in the Power Center Designer tool. Next, fourth step, we have to perform in Power Center Workflow Manager. Okay, these terminology and words, tool names you should have to remember, and you have to call with the same names. You should not give your own names. Okay, so this is Power Center Workflow Manager tool. Inside the Power Center Workflow Manager tool, we create a session task to give the source and target database connection. What is the use of session task? To give the source and target database connection. We create a session task, and then we create a workflow, and there only we will get the option to execute. And finally, this is Power Center Workflow Monitor tool. There we can see the status and the status text. Status means like whether it is succeeded or failed, or how many records it has read, how many records it has read from the source, how many records it has loaded into the target. All those things we will see in Workflow Monitor. So can you hear me? How about others? Is it clear my voice?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible? Is
Yes,
it
sir.
clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So like that, here we have the client tools. So these 3 are the client tools. So we will use these client tools. Okay, now we'll start the practical. So I will show you practically how we can create a table, inserting the records, and then creating the target table, and we'll use these three client tools, and we'll perform these 6 steps, okay, to load the data from source to target. Okay, now what is our requirement? So before creating any mapping, we should have to understand the requirement. So here the requirement is, we will be creating the source table first, emp underscore yes, with these 3 columns, and then we will insert some rows inside the table. In our first class I have shown you how to create a table, and I have shown you how to create a table inserting rows inside the table. In the same way we'll be creating the table, and then we'll have a few columns inside the table, then insert some rows, okay, and then target table. And in the target we are not going to insert any records. So for all our source tables at the end we will give underscore yes. For all our target tables at the end we will give underscore t. By seeing the table name we will come to know which is the source table and which is the target table. From now onwards, whatever the names I'm giving to the table to create, you also have to give the same name. If I have given the table name as emp underscore yes here to create a table, you also have to give emp underscore yes when you are practicing. You should not give your own table names. You should not give the table name like product or student or your name. No, that is not suggestible till you get familiar with these tools. Okay, so you should have to follow whatever the table names I am giving here. You also have to follow the same table name, same column names. Data you can insert your name and all, okay, but the table name, column name should be same whatever here I'm going to create. Got it? Okay, so first step to start with Informatica, first step we have to create the source and target tables. These two tables we have to create. To create the table, first step, as I shown you in the first class of this this Informatica. So to open the SQL developer tool, so you have to go to the desktop. Okay, on your desktop you will find SQL developer. Here I have the SQL developer on my desktop. So in the same way on your desktop also, I have already set up the SQL developer on your desktop. You just have to go to the SQL developer and you have to click on SQL developer. Once you click on the SQL developer, you can see the SQL developer open like this. SQL developer is a tool which is used to interact with the database. I have already explained about this tool, right? So on first day, and by using this tool we can connect to the database, and we can connect inside the database, we can connect it to the schema. Inside the schema we'll be creating the table, right? Okay, so now what we will do, so we'll just here also I have shown you how to connect it to the schema, right? We have a system schema. Under connections we have already added the system connection. Okay, so we have to select the system connection and then right click connect so that it will be connected. So we'll select the system and then connect, or you can double click on this. It will ask you to enter the username password. We'll just wait for a minute. So we'll ask your username password to connect to the system schema. Under the system schema, we will be creating the source and target tables. Just click on connect and it will ask us to enter the password. Whatever the password you have given during the installation, that password you have to give Oracle password. So you should not forget the password. Okay, once we enter the username password, it will be connected to the system schema. Under that we are going to create source and target table. This is our first step for any mapping to start with. Okay, to start with, first you have to go to the desktop, click on the SQL developer. Your SQL developer tool will open, and under Oracle connections you will see section. You just have to right click on it, connect. You just have to right click on it, connect. So once you select that option, it will ask you to enter user password. Username is for everyone, you have to enter as a system. Okay, so whatever password system if you enter, the same password you have to enter so that it will be connected to the system schema. Okay, so inside the system schema, now we are going to create two tables. One table with the name emp underscore yes, which is our table. Another table we will be creating emp underscore t, which is our target table. Okay, so after creating source and target tables, we will insert few records inside the source table, right? And then we will execute the commit. Okay, but we are not going to insert target table because we are going to perform the ETL by using Informatica. So we will extract the records from the source and into the target. Okay, fine. So now here it is connected. Okay, so you can see system, it is connected. In the last class we have last to last class I have shown you how to write a query. Now again I am going to show you how to create a table. Okay, so for that first we have to write emp underscore yes. Okay, so don't give the space in table name, you just have to give emp underscore yes and bracket open bracket close. Second it got. Okay, we have already discussed about creating a table. So again here I am showing you how to create a table. Second, hold on. Looks like this is slow today. RKL SQL developer. Okay, so number, employee name, varchar 2 of 10. Okay, and then salary number, right? So last time also we created the table like that. So create table name, employee number, and this is the data type number. Varchar 2 is a for character type of data. We give like this, salary like this, and then to execute we have to, after writing the query, it will not be created. You have to execute the query, right? So for that here we have the green play button. So if you click on it, okay, this only after you click on that green play button, then only the query will be executed and a table will be created, the name emp underscore yes inside the system schema. Done, table created. Now we have created the source table. Okay, in the same way we will create a target table. So same query you can copy paste. Same query you just copy paste like this, and in place of yes you give the t, because target table also we have to create with the same columns, right? So now we will execute the second line. To execute the second line you have to place the cursor on this query, right? And then you can press this button. So if you place the cursor on the first query, again the first query is going to execute, but again it will display error message saying that emps already exists, object already exists. So we cannot execute the create table statement two times, only one time. So first the table is created, again you cannot execute the same query because the table is already created. Now we have to place the second query. You can press Control Enter, or you can press this button so that the query will be executed and the target table will be created. Now you can see EMP also created like that. From now onwards, for every our Informatica mapping, whatever we are going to create future. So same way, first you have to create a source. I will show you here how to create the table and all. So first you have to create a source table, target table like this. After that, so after creating the source and target tables, we have to insert few records in the source table, right? So for that, we have to write insert into table name emp_yes values, and we have to give the values like this. First value 10, and then Ali names we should have to write in a single quotation, and then some salary like this. Okay, and then we have to put the semicolon. For every SQL statement, we have to put the semicolon and then place the cursor on this query at the end or anywhere. So you can place the cursor on the query and then press on this button so that this row or this SQL statement only will be executed, and you can see the output here, one row inserted. In the same way, we have to insert multiple rows. So to insert multiple rows into the table, I have shown you, like we just have to copy paste the same insert statement. We'll just change the values there. Okay, so like that. So I have copy pasted, and then I will change the values. So for the same row we'll give 20, some name Ravi, and here 20, and this is 30. So like that we can change the values. 40, 50. So like that we can change the values. I have changed the values, right? Okay, but still I have not executed these insert statements. Okay, I have just statements, and I have changed values. Right? Now I have to execute all the insert statements. So instead of executing by one, so earlier I have shown you just place the cursor on the line and execute, right? Now, so I will show you how to execute the multiple SQL statements. Okay, so these 5 SQL statements again, I want to insert the first one again. So these 5 statements, instead of executing one by one, just select all the states what you want to execute now. Multiple SQL statement. Here after the green play button, we have run script button. Okay, run script button. We have to click to execute the multiple SQL statements. If you want to execute the single line SQL statement, you have to click on this button or control enter. If you want to execute multiple SQL lines one after the other, we have to click on the next button, run script, so that you can see here one row inserted, one row inserted, we will get. See here, one after the other, it has executed, and we have got the output, one row inserted, one row inserted, one row inserted, like that. All the rows are inserted now. So after inserting, I have told you to execute the commit to save the data permanently. If you don't execute the commit, the data won't save permanently. Execute this commit so that this whatever we have inserted, that it is going to save permanently. Now commit complete. So we have created the source table, insert few records inside the source table, and then we have executed commit. Now to see whatever we have created, we have to write a select statement. Select star from emp underscore yes. This is our source table which we have created. Okay, semicolon, and now we have to execute the single line query. So select we cannot execute along with the insert. Okay, so select you have to execute separately. Select statement we will be executing to see whatever we have in source table and to see whatever the rows we have inserted inside the source table. So I have executed, it is executing, it will display as whatever rows we have inserted. You can see we have created the table, the column line salary, and then we have few rows like this. Okay. First row I have inserted 2 times. Okay, first I have inserted only alone this first insert statement along with the other I have executed. That's the reason we have got 2 times. Okay, fine, let it be. So we'll see later. So now we have inserted some few records like this in our source table. Done. So what is the target table? Target table is emp underscore t. Now we'll see how many records are there in the target table. Do we have one? Can you tell me? Do we have any records in the
No.
target table?
No, sir.
Yes or no? No, right? We don't have any records. Okay, so we have not inserted any of the records in the target table. We don't have any record. We have only column names. Employee the column names. We have 3 columns, but we do not have. So now what we are going to do with this, our source and target tables are ready. Now we are going to perform, these 6 steps by using these 3 tools. That is our next step. Okay, once from now onwards, for every scenario, we have to follow the same thing. We have to create a source table, target table, insert some records in the source table, execute commit, and then do not insert any records in the target table. Next, follow these 6 steps. First step to open the Power Center Designer tool. So to open the Power Center Designer tool, you can go to the start, and from Informatica folder, you can open the Informatica Power Center Designer, or in the search box also you can press Designer. Okay, let me open the Designer tool. So we can search here Designer, or we can click on the start button. There also so in search box, if you type design, you get the Power Center Designer tool. Not getting. Okay, so it is not coming here. So we'll go to we'll click on the start, and here we have, but still you can go to the Informatica folder here. So from the Informatica folder, we can select the Power Center Designer. We'll go to all apps. So from Informatica folder, you can select the designer. So in my system here itself I have, so we can also click here. So if you don't find here, you just go to the Informatica folder. There you can see the Power Center Designer tool. I have just click on it. It will open in a minute. So this is Informatica Power Center Designer tool. This is the first step which we have to open after creating the tables. Once the tables are ready, source and tables, we have to first always open the Power Center Designer tool. To still load. Yeah, so this is open. Okay, so this is Informatica Power Center Designer tool. So here under repositories, we have a repository rep underscore dev, right? Same way in your machine also, if you open the Power Center Designer tool, you will find the rep underscore dev, right? During the installation, we have already added the repository. So we just have to right click and connect. So if you right click and connect, it will ask you to enter the password. Okay, so here one step we have to remember. if it is not asking for the password, let's say sometimes you will get the error message, or it will not ask you to enter the username password, then what you have to do is, before connecting to the Informatica repository, always you have to go to the services, you have to search for the services. So here in the search box you type services like this. So before you connect to the Informatica, always you have to type the services. Okay, here I have got the services, so we have to click the services app. So before you connect to the repository, always you have to check whether the Informatica service is running or not. So for that, in the search box you type services. Once you type the services, it will open the services window. So if the Informatica service is not running, then it will not allow you to connect to the repository here. You will get the, okay, generally in real time admin team will take care to check whether the Informatica is running or not, right? So here you have to select any one of service and press I in your keyboard so that you can see Informatica Power Center 10.2 service. So in my system are under status, currently the status is running, right? So like that, always the Informatica service status, it should have to as running. If it is not running, how we will come to know whether it is running or not? So you can see other service, is this running? It is not running. You can see the status as blank. If you are seeing the status as blank, that means that Informatica service is not running. Okay, so I repeat, if you are facing any difficulty or if you are getting any error during the connection of repository service, okay, so you have to go to the services and check Informatica service is running or not. If you see the status as blank, you just have to right click on it and then you have to select the start option. Once you click on start, then it will display the status as running. Okay, so after starting the Informatica service, remember you have to wait for 5 minutes. Immediately again, if you go here and if you try to connect to the repository, it will not allow. Okay, after starting the service, if it is not running, after starting the service, you have to wait for 5 minutes. After waiting for 5 minutes, then right click on the Informatica service. This time, after 5 minutes, you select the refresh option. If you click on refresh option, now you can see after refreshing also, still the status is running. Okay, so you have started the Informatica service, waited for 5 minutes, and then you have selected the refresh option, still it is showing as running, right? Okay, so if it is running, now you go here, right click connect the repository. Okay, so after 5 minutes, if the Informatica service status is showing as blank, you started 5 minutes back, waited 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes, you have selected the refresh option. When you select the refresh option, here you have got the status as blank. Okay, that time you just let me know, I will help you to fix that issue. Okay, for now you just see whether the Informatica service is running or not. If it is not running, you start the Informatica service, wait for 5 minutes, refresh. If it is running, then definitely it will allow you to connect. You just right click on this repository and connect, and it will ask you to enter the username password you enter as admin, username is admin, password admin. During installation we have already set the username password. Okay, so once it is connected, we can see the folders inside the repository. In your system, during the installation, I have given the folder name as training or dev. Okay, training dev, training underscore dev like that, or training, anything is fine. In my system, here I have multiple folders, doesn't matter. You ignore those things. Just in your system, you will have the folder name with the name underscore, like training underscore dev or training, anything is fine. So for our batch, I will be using training underscore. Okay. So after connecting to the repository, you have to open the folder. So to open the folder, right click and open. Got it? So we have to select the folder and open. you should not click on the plus. So here we have the plus, right? So you should not click on the plus here to open the folder. So you have to right click and open, select the open option. Then only the folder will open like this. First step, you have to connect to the repository. Then you have to open the folder. How we will come to know whether the folder is open or not? So if you see the folder name in bold font, right? So if you are seeing the folder name is bold font, that means the folder is open. If the folder name is not in a bold font, now here the name is not in a bold font, right? Okay, that means that folder is not open. So whichever the folder name is in bold font, that folder only it has opened. Okay, under that we have many other subfolders. These folders all and all we have not created, by default Informatica has created. Now right side we have there are 5 buttons here. The first one is source analyzer. The second button we have target designer. Third button, if you click, you will get the transformation developer workspace. This is called workspace. And the fourth button, if you click, maplet designer. And the fifth button will get here mapping designer. So like that, there are 5 buttons. Whatever the button we click, corresponding workspace will get here. Okay. Now after connecting to the repository, after opening the folder, now first step what we have to do, we have to import the source definition. Source definition means whatever the table here we have, this table structure we have to import Informatica. So that is our first import the source definition. For that, always you should be under source analyzer, the first tab. Always you should be under source analyzer, go to the menu, here sources. Once you are under source analyzer, then source definition, go to the menu, sources, import from database. We have created our source table in a database, right? Okay, so that's the reason we have to select this option. And now here ODBC data source. Currently it is showing as DBase and something else, right? But ours is Oracle database. We have installed Oracle database from Informatica. To connect to the Oracle database, we have to create a ODBC data source here only for the first time. For that, we will just click on this button. Okay, and we should be under user DS, and then we have to click on add button. Once we click on add button, it will ask us to enter. Yeah, so you can see once we click on add button, we have got some option here. From this, we have to select data direct 7.1 Oracle wire protocol. This is only for the first time we will do. Okay, this creation of ODBC data source only for the first time to connect it to the Oracle database from this Informatica tool. So data direct 7.1 Oracle wire protocol we have to select and then click on finish. As soon as we click, it will ask us to enter the database username, password, database name, all these things it will ask. You can see data source name, we can give our folder name, training underscore dev. So you can also give the same data source name. In your system also you can give training underscore dev. Description is not required. Then host name. Host name, everyone you should have to give local host. Same way you have to give in your machine local host. Port number, everyone you should have to give 1521. And then this is SID XE. So after the class you can do all these things. By watching the recording, I will share the recording. Right? So you have to enter all these details. Okay. So training underscore dev and then host name, local host and port number 1521 XE. Same as it is, you also have to enter in your system. Then click on apply. Okay. So as soon as you click on apply, and then also we have to click on test connection before. Okay, click on test connector so that it will ask us to enter the database username, password. Username is system, password I have given the system, and then click on OK, so that it will check from this Informatica tool whether it could be able to connect to the database or not. That it will check. So you can see connection established, right? We could successfully able to establish a connector. successfully establish a connection between client and the server database. Just click on OK. Now you can see we have got our ODBC data source here, training underscore dev. With this name we have created. Then just click on OK. Now from this list we have to click on here, select whatever the ODBC data source we have created. This is only one time. Till here only one time. Okay, once you created ODBC data source like this, from second mapping onwards, you no need to create again ODBC data source. So click here under the same underscore. Okay, next username system dot owner name, it should be in capital letters only. You should not change this one. You just leave this as it is. And the password system, whatever the password you have given, that you have to enter, and then search for the table names. So we are going to import the source table here. We have to enter the source table name mp underscore yes. Okay, so once you create one or two mappings, you will come to know all these steps, right? So username, password, you have to enter, connect. Same way you have to practice in your system. And then here we have got the schema tables. We have to click on system tables, open the folder. Now our source table name is emp underscore yes, which we have created. Okay. Once you we source definition. So we are importing the source table structure. That source structure we call it as a source definition, which will have only column names. You can see here we have got our definition imported. We are under source analyzer, our source definition imported. This is called source definition. We have only column name. We have not imported the data. As soon as you import the source definition, left side we have a sources folder. Under sources folder, if you one here you can see the source definition, whatever you have imported with the name emp underscore yes. As soon as we import definition, it will be available under sources folder. All the source definitions available under sources folder. That is first step. Now we have done with the first step. Okay, so we have imported the source definition. Next, second step, import the target definition, target tables. Now we are going to perform the second step. Second step is importing the target definition. For that, you have to click on the second button, target designer. You will get the target designer workspace. So source definitions we import under source analyzer, target definitions we import under target design. This is our second step. Once you are under target designer, go to the menu, targets, import from database. And this time we are not going to create a ODBC data source. We have already created just now, right? So with the name training underscore dev, same we have to select. As I told you, only first time we'll be creating that ODBC data source. And then we will be selecting the same ODBC data source and then enter the username system and then password system, and here target table name is emp underscore t. This time we are importing the target table. That's the reason we have to give the table name as emp underscore t, right? And then connect. So from this tables, we have to select our target table name emp underscore t, right? So all the other tables do not consider. So only the target table which we have created with the name emp underscore t, that we have to select and click on OK. Once you click on OK, target definition imported. This is also structure. We do not have the data. We have only column names here, employee number, employee salary. Those are the column names. Once you import the target definition, it will be available under targets folder. Source definition will be available under sources folder. Target definition will be available under targets folder. So we've done with second step. Any doubts till now in the first and second step, importing the source and target definitions? Clear till now?
Yes, sir.
No answer means not clear.
Clear.
Okay, fine. Now third step. We are going to perform the third step. Third step, create mapping. So to create a mapping, so what we have to do, we have to go to the fifth tab, mapping designer. Third and fourth, leave it. We'll discuss later in the future class. For now, to perform the third step, we have to click on the fifth button, mapping designer. Okay, once you are under mapping designer, go to the menu mappings, create. Underscore. Okay, we have to give always the mapping name should start with. Okay, so this is not mandatory. We have to follow the real-time standards. Small and underscore. Rest of the name the same. Whatever the table name we have given, like emps underscore empt underscore load. Like that, we have to give the name to the mapping. Okay, so by seeing this name, we'll come to know this is the mapping to load the data from EMPS to EMPT table. So like that, first letter should be small letter, rest all the letters should be capital letters, and there should not be any space. Okay, we can give underscores like this. Okay, so like that, you have to give the mapping name and then click on OK. Okay, so we have just given the name to the mapping. As soon as we give the name to the mapping, so under mappings folder, we can see the same name, whatever we have given here. So after giving the name to the mapping, to create a mapping, we have to select the source definition from the sources folder. Okay, currently we are under mapping designer, right? So we should be under mapping designer, select the source definition and drag and drop to the mapping designer. So you have to drag and drop the source definition folder to the mapping designer. Along with the source definition, you will get source qualifier transformation. This is called transformation. We will discuss later in the next class about this transformation. For now, we just have to select, drag and drop the source definition. In the same way, select the target definition, drag and drop the target definition into the mapping designer. So we have to select the source definition and then select the target definition, drag and drop to the mapping designer one after the other. Right, so after that, the way how we have the link, these are called links. Okay, so the way how we have the links, in the same way we have link between source qualifier and the target definition. We have to give the link here, that is called map. So select the employee number here in the source qualifier, place the cursor on ENO, drag and drop on target definition ENO. Exactly, you have to drop on ENO. If you select and drag and drop on ENO, the link will be created. This is called mapping. We are doing the mapping to load source employee number column data to the target employee number. In the same way, select the employee name, the source qualifier, drag and drop on employee name. So if you drop salary, suppose let's say by mistake, okay, so you have selected the employee name and by mistake you have dropped on salary like this. So what will happen in this case? It will load the data source employee name, it will try to insert into the target salary column. Is it valid? Can we do like this? Can we load like this?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Equivalent mapping.
No, right? We should. Okay, so
No, sir.
so by mistake, yeah, by mistake, if you have given the link like this, you have to select the link. You have to select the link and press delete button in the keyboard. Select the link and press delete button so that the link will be deleted. Okay, again, now you can select the employee name, drag and drop on employee name. The same way, select the salary, drag and drop the salary. That's it. This is called mapping. We have created the mapping to load the source employee source table emp underscore s table data to the target emp underscore t. We have mapped to load source employee number to the target employee number, source employee name to the target employee name, source salary to the target salary. To load the data, we have created the mapping. After creating the mapping, now we have to save the mapping. Okay, this is important step. If you don't save, then this will not be saved permanently. Go to the menu repository. Here we have a save option, or you can also press Ctrl S shortcut key. So you have to save. Once you save, it will be saved. Okay, so once it is saved, here it will display a message saying that okay, so this mapping, whatever mapping we have created, it is valid. If there are any errors in this mapping, here it will display the mapping is invalid. and also it will display error message. So if you scroll up here a little bit, so it will display error message, but here there are no errors. So whatever mapping we have created, there are no errors. This is valid. That's it. So with this, we have done with these three steps. We have imported source definition, imported target definition, and we have created the mapping. Clear? Any questions till now? Because the same steps we have to follow for all our mappings in future class. If you understand one or two mappings, these steps, then it would be easy to create all the mappings. Clear till now? Creating the mapping. Okay, fine. So three steps are completed. Now we are going to perform the fourth step. To perform the fourth step, we have to open the Power Center Workflow Manager tool. So to open the Power Center Workflow, here itself we have W button, Workflow Manager. You no need to again go back to start, and from there you no need to select directly. If you click on W button, so Workflow Manager tool will open. There you are going to perform the fourth step to create a session task. Okay, this is Power Center Workflow Manager tool. Here we are going to create a session task. Still loading. 5 minutes, so it will not take much time. The workflow manager tool has opened. So once the workflow manager tool has opened, automatically it has connected. We no need to connect again specifically, right? So connected from, if you open from the Power Center Designer tool, you no need to connect again. Automatically it will connect. If you are separately opening from the Informatica folder, then again you have to connect. If it is not connected, you just right click connect, okay, and then open the folder. Here the fourth step is we have to create a session task to give the source and target database connection. To create a session task, go to the menu tasks, create. Here we have a create option. As soon as you select the create option, it will ask you to enter the name for this session task. You can see task type is session, and we have to give the name. Session task name always should start with small s underscore. The rest of the name, whatever the name here we have given to the mapping, the same name we can copy from here. Go to the menu mappings, edit. So from here, right click, copy, because the same name we have to give here also. So right click here, paste, copy paste the mapping name. So session task name should start with small s underscore. The rest of the name, same whatever name we have given to the mapping, the same name we have to give here. Okay, if you give different name also, it will work fine. But we have to follow the real-time standard. How we do in real time, same way here also we have to learn. Okay, you should not give your own names, right? Same way you have to follow. Then click on create. As soon as you click on create, it will show the mapping name to select the specific map. Currently we have only one mapping, that is the reason you are seeing this mapping. If there are multiple mappings, you have to select the specific mapping for which mapping you are creating the task. But now we have only one mapping, that is the reason we have to select this one and then click on OK. Done. So with this we have created the session task. This is called session task. As soon as you create a session task, it will be sessions folder. See, now whatever we have done, have we written any program or coding here? No, right? This is a tool. This is not a programming language. Everything importing, selecting the option, setting the properties, drag and dropping, that's what we are doing here. That's the reason for non-technical also, this tool will be easy to learn. So here there will not be much coding, only the queries you have to remember, the SQL queries, but here we are not going to write any program here. So you should have to remember the steps in a sequence order. Okay, and you have to remember the properties and all. Fine. After creating the session task, we have to give the connections inside the session. To give the connections, okay, so first time we have to go to the menu connections, relational. So here we have to select our database type is Oracle, and then to click on new. This is only first time. From second time onwards, you no need to create a connection again. The same connection we will give here. The name same as our folder name we can give training underscore dev, right? You also give the same name and username. You also give system password, whatever the password you have given for the database. Connection string you also have to give xe. Okay, only these details we have to give because our table exists inside the system schema, right? Under the system user we have, so that's the reason it will connect to that database. Click on OK, close. So we have got training underscore dev here. So we have created the connection. After creating the connection, open the session task, right click, go to the mapping tab here, select the connections, and here EMPT database connection, EMPS database connection. From Informatica tool, it should have to connect to the database to extract the data. Whereas here, whatever ODBC we have created to extract only the table structure, the column names. But now here inside the session task, we are giving the connection to extract the data, the rows from the source table. For that, we have created a connection. So click on this down arrow. We have created a connection with the name training underscore dev. So this connection contains the username password database name to connect to the specific system user, and it will search for this EMPS table under the system user. From there it will extract the data and it will give the writer will write the data in the target database. Target also we have under same system user only. We have to give training underscore dev like this, the connection name. That's it. We have created the session task and we have given the connections inside the session task. This is also important step here to give the connection source and target database. With the help of Informatica, it will connect it to the database and from there it will extract the data. With that, we have done with the fourth step also. Now the fifth step, create a workflow. To create a workflow, you should have to go to the third tab, workflow designer. So click on the third button, workflow designer. Once you are under workflow designer, go to menu workflows, create. It will ask us to give the workflow name small wf underscore, and whatever the name you have given to the mapping, the same name again you have to copy paste the mapping name. So mapping name, session name, workflow name, all the mapping name should start with small m, session name start with small s, workflow name should start with small wf. After giving the name to the workflow, just click on OK. So once you click on OK, here under workflows folder we have got the workflow name and then we have got the start, and after that to complete we have just given the name to the workflow, but still we have not completed the workflow. After giving the name to the workflow, select the session task here from the sessions folder, drag and drop, just drag and drop like this, and then we have to give the link. Go to the menu task, link task, select the link task and place the cursor on start, left click, hold, drag and drop to the session so the link will be created. That's it. So with this we have done with the workflow also. Now after creating the session and workflow, you have to go to the menu repository, save. So this is saved. Done. Right? So we have created the mapping, session, workflow, all the 5 steps are done now. The step. So to perform the 6th step, we have to open the workflow tool. Here we have M button. So if you click on M button, workflow monitor tool will open. This is workflow monitor. Okay, now it is open. So just we can, if it is not connected, we just have to connect. Right click connect. It will ask us to enter the username, password, connect. Okay, so workflow monitor tool is open. Here we can see the status. So when we can see the status after execution only. So after opening this monitor, now again come back to the workflow manager tool. Here blank space, right click. Here we have a option start the workflow to execute this workflow. After performing all the 6 steps, now we are going to this option start the workflow. Here in workflow main designer, so right click start workflow. As soon as you click on start workflow, it has started execution. Here again we'll go to the monitor tool to see the status. So you can see here it has started execution. It is running. At what time started? The status we can see here running. So as soon as we click on start task, it will connect to the integration service. Integration service will start the DTM engine. DTM engine, it will validate the mapping, validate the session, validate the connections, whatever we have given inside the session task. Then it will enable the reader thread. Reader thread with the help of connections, whatever we have given. So with the help of those connections, it will connect to the source database, and then it will read the data. It will give it to the writer. Will write the data in the target database. We can see the source and target. So we just have to right click on the session task here and get run properties. So if you click on get run properties, see here source and target sticks. If you open here, from the source here we can see the reader count. Like it will not take this much of time. In seconds it is going to be completed. So you can see it has read total 6 records. The count we can see corresponding to EMP underscore yes, whatever the number here we have, those many number of records it has read from the source, and it has given to the writer. Writer will write the data in the target database. Still it is running. So we can see now it has loaded the same 6 record table, and the execution status also session succeeded, and we have to wait until the workflow also the status should be succeeded. You can see it got succeeded. So like that, so it has read total 6 records. So all the 6 records loaded into the target table, and we started execution. 7:46 it has started, and it has completed 7:48. Okay, so start time and time we can see, and the statistics we have how many records it has read per second from the source, how many records loaded into the target per second, rows per second into the target table. All these statistics, these are the statistics we can see, and the status you can see execute got succeeded. That's it. So after seeing the status here, now what we have to do again, we have to go back to the now SQL developer, and we have to execute the target table query to see whether whatever the records we inserted in the source table 6 rows, whether the same 6 are present inside the target table or not. That we can see in the target table. So if we execute that one, you can see the target data here in the target table. It's executing. So you can see we have got all the 6 records, right? Okay, that's it. So from where we have got these 6 records, who has got these 6 records into the target table? Informatica. So through Informatica, we have extracted the 6 records from the source table, transformed, and we have loaded into the target table. That is the use of Informatica tool. Got it? So to load the data from source to target table, we have performed these 6 steps, and we have executed, and it has extracted the data from source, target, source table, target table, and loaded to the target. Got it? That's it. This is the process for any mapping from tomorrow's like from next class onwards. The same thing I'll be explaining here. Practically I will be showing, and you have to practice in your system after the class, right? So what this is succeeded once you are able to load. Okay, so next step what you have to do, whatever we have did now, like same way you have to create another source table. This time you create another source table with S1 target 1, right? So create a source table, execute. I'm just changed the value. Now I'm executing to create a second our source table. Name already exists. So it is saying already exists. So if the name is already exist, so just I will drop the table. Drop table name. If you write this query, the table will be dropped permanently. So to practice the second mapping, I'm going to create the second source table. Quickly I will create this mapping and I will show you so that you can practice multiple mappings. So since it's already exists, I'm just dropping in your system. You will not have S1 T1. you can directly create. Okay, now after we'll get, so after giving the name, execute the same query, just change the name. In place of s, you can keep s1, so that s1 table will be created. In place of t, you can place t1, so that the target table will be created for your second scenario to practice. Table name, so same s1, 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 so we are going to insert these things. So like that, after changing the names, you select all these things, press this transcript button, so that all the rows will be inserted into the our new table with s1, the second table. And then execute. Now our source and target tables are ready for our second scenario. So this is s1, and here we have whatever the 5 rows. Now we have execute inserted 5 rows in the s1 table, and the table is ready. Still executing. So quickly I will create a mapping, so that you can also practice multiple mappings, EMB S1 T1. Now we got T1 create, but there is no data in the T1 table. So once the source and tables are ready for our second scenario, next we'll go here and we'll start creating we'll perform 6 steps now. Again, same 6 steps. First, I've already opened the designer tool, already connected to the repository, already opened the folder. Now to create with the second mapping, already have source definition of the mapping. Here the space, right here also the workspace will become before you start mapping your space. Okay, but still it will be there here. So again, if you want the same thing, you can drag and drop, you will get here. You should not delete, you just clear the workspace. Now we will use second source definition. Go to the menu sources, import from database. Now the second source definition is emp underscore s1. We have created with the name s1 connect. Now I'm data set. Again, I'm going to perform the same sequence. Select s1, click on it. Same 6 steps will perform. First step, we are importing the source definition. We imported. Now the second step, clear all. Here also we have to clear the target definition. Go to the menu targets, import from database. Our second table name is emp underscore t1. See, I am not creating the ODBC again. Second time, we only first time you have to do. Second time directly you can just enter the table name connect. 1 or 2 mappings if you create, it will you will be able to understand very easily. So this table also we have imported. Target table, second also done. Now third step, create mapping. For that we have to go to the mapping designer. You cannot clear the mapping. To start creating the new mapping, you have to go to the menu mappings, create. As soon as you click on create button, automatically the workspace will become clear. Now it will, we will give like this, small m underscore emp underscore s1 underscore emp underscore t1 underscore load. So like that we can give the mapping name. Now itself you can copy the mapping name, so that the same name you can give while creating the session task. After giving the name to the mapping, select the source definition, second source definition now, not the first one, right? One which is the latest. Drag and drop the source definition, select the target definition, drag and drop the target definition. Always source should be at left side in the mapping, should be at right side in the mapping. In the first mapping, one by one we have drag and dropped, right? Now what we will do, we will right click, select all the columns we will select, place the first one, drag and drop on the first one, so that all 3 will be given the link at a time. We no need to drag and drop one by one. So select all, just drag and drop, so that all will be connected once. With that, third step also done. Go to the menu repository, save. Okay, so this also done. Next, fourth step, workflow manager. We already have opened the workflow manager. To create a session task, right click, clear all, and then go to the menu task script, and session task name is smallest underscore mapping name, create. This time we'll have multiple mappings. Out of these two, which mapping we have to select? This is the mapping. For this mapping, we are creating the session task. We should be careful here while selecting the mapping. For which mapping we are creating the session task, that mapping we have to select and click on OK. Done. And again, we are not going to create the connection. We have already created the connection. Just open the session task, edit, go to the mapping tab, connections, and you have to select your connection, whatever we have created, training underscore dev. We have already created. Only first time we will create this training underscore dev. So second time onwards not required. The same connection we will select like this. Then click on apply. Okay, done. Fourth step also done. Next, the fifth step, workflow designer. Mapping and workflow you cannot clear. Yes. Any question? Okay. So mapping and workflow you cannot clear. Okay. So here to get a new workflow, what you have to do? New workflows. Create, so that the workspace will become clear. And now it will ask us to enter the second workflow name, wf underscore emp underscore s1. Okay, so emp underscore, no, wf underscore, after that whatever the name we have given to the mapping, the same name copy paste. Mapping name, we have to do the copy paste and then click on OK. So after that, this session, so while drag and dropping also we should be careful which session we have to drag and drop. Now this is the session emp s1 t1. So like that, mapping name while selecting you should be careful, and here while drag and dropping you should drag and drop here. Then link task, use the link like this. With this we have done with put the new report, save. That's it. So we have done with the second mapping, second session, second workflow also we have done. Now it is ready to execute. Just right click, start workflow. As soon as you click on start workflow, now here we can see it will start execution of the second workflow. Right click, get run properties. So here whether it is running or not. Sometimes it will display. So here we have Gantt chart task view. So if you click task view, it will display like the start and completion. If it is in Gantt chart, so start and end time it will not display, only duration it will display. Okay, so it is running. It got cleared, it has read 5 records, all the 5 records loaded into the target. Now if I execute this target table query, we should have the same 5 records whatever present in our source table. So now I have executed the target table query to see whether all the 5 records from the source loaded into the target table or not. That's why we call this as the ETL tool. Informatica is the ETL tool. ETL means extract, transform, and load. See, it has extracted the data from 5 records from the source table, transform, and it has loaded into the target table. That's it. So this is how we have to perform, or we have to use this Informatica tool. Now I have shown you practically 2 scenarios here created. Okay, so what you can do after the class, okay, after 1 hour I'll upload this recording. You watch this recording once or twice, try to understand. Okay, so by following the recording you create 1-2 mappings, first mapping, second mapping. By watching the recorded session you try to create a mapping, execute, and see whether you are able to get the expected output or not. Okay, once you completed these 2, you will get some confidence that yes, I am able to create, I have executed and successfully data loaded. Next, what you have to do, you close the recording. You should not watch the recording, close the recording and create. So emp, so these and all tables and all, you remove all these things. Okay, and now without watching the recording, whatever you understood from first and second scenarios, try to create, write a query from the beginning. So create table emp underscore s2. We already created now s2 table. So give the name like emp s2 with the same columns. Without watching, try to write a query here. whatever you understood, like to recollect whether you remember the query to create a table, inserting the records inside the table, creating the target table query. So you have to type here without watching the recording. So like that, you have to create the EMPS2 table, EMPS3 table, EMPS4 table. For three more scenarios, you have to practice. Total 5 mappings you have to create. 2 mappings practically I have shown you. 3 mappings are the homework. You have to create EMPS3, ES4, EMPS5, like that. Source, target EMP T T3, T4, T5, like that. You have to create up to 5 tables. And here I have created 2 mappings, right? In the same way, you have to create m underscore emp s2 underscore emp t2 underscore load. So for 2 mappings, by watching the recording, you have to practice by understanding. From third mapping onwards, the 3 mappings without watching the recorded session, you have to close the recording. Whatever you understood, whether it is right or wrong, doesn't matter. You try to create without watching. So by following the recorded session, if you practice third, 4, 5 also, it is no use. Okay, so you will be able to create 5 mappings by watching the recording. Okay, but after creating 5 mappings also, you don't know like what is, the steps. You will not be able to remember the steps. So that is the reason I am requesting first 2 mappings by following the recording you create. While creating, remember the steps. Remember the queries. Once 2 are succeeded, close the recording. From third scenario onwards, remove the queries also in SQL Developer. Try to write fresh new queries like create table emp underscore s2, right? Values like that, write it insert query so that you will get more practical knowledge. You will get more hands-on experience. Okay, and mapping also 6 steps, whatever you remember, try to follow this. Okay, first importing the source definition, next import the target definition, next create a map, session task, next workflow, execute, like that. Remember the steps and try to create a another 3 mappings. Total 5 mappings should be there in your system before we start the next class. Got it? And everyone should share me the screenshots of all the 5 mappings that I have created with the same table names. You should not give your own table names. I have asked you to give the table names as for the first scenario EMPS, second one EMPS1, third one EMPS2, fourth one EMPS3, EMPS4, like that. You give the same naming convention, otherwise you will confuse. Got it? And today, I mean, like tomorrow, we do not have class. We have the class day after tomorrow, right? US time, Sunday evening, same time. India time, Monday. Okay, same time. Tomorrow we don't have class. So today and tomorrow you have time to practice all these things. You have to create at least 5 mappings in your system. Got it? Okay, so during the practice, if you don't understand, then again watch the recording. Still, if you don't understand, you can call me or you can ping me in WhatsApp. I'll be able to help you. Got it, right? You should have to complete all the 5 mappings in your. So then only the next class will be easy to understand. Okay, so that's it. That's all for the day. We'll stop here today. And then we'll continue day after tomorrow, same time. Okay. Yeah. So if any one of you installation still pending, please try to complete 100% today only. So tomorrow you can be able to practice. Fine. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.